The moment the son snapped at his mother, something in the courtroom shifted in a way that couldn't be ignored. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, but it was undeniable, like the air itself recoiled from the sharpness of his tone. His words didn't just land, they struck. And in response his mother instinctively pulled inward, clutching her purse tighter against her chest, as if it were the only thing anchoring her in that moment. Her fingers curled into the worn leather, gripping it with quiet desperation. She didn't look at him, she couldn't. Instead her gaze drifted somewhere past him, somewhere safer, somewhere removed from the intensity of his presence. But he noticed her reaction, and instead of softening, he laughed. It wasn't a nervous laugh. It wasn't uncertain, it was loud, confident. Cutting, the kind of laugh that comes from someone who believes they've already won. And then, the gavel struck, a single, clean crack split through the courtroom. It didn't echo loudly, but it didn't need to. The sound carried weight, authority, finality. It sliced through his voice, through his laughter, through the illusion of control he had wrapped himself in. For just a fraction of a second, everything paused. And in that pause, something changed, because whatever Judge Judy said next didn't need to be raised in volume. It landed with precision, and just like that, the smile that had been sitting so comfortably on his face disappeared. But the truth was, the unraveling had already begun. Even before the gavel had fallen, he had been speaking over everyone, interrupting, overpowering, filling the room with his voice as if silence itself was something he refused to allow. It wasn't just impatience, it was control. Or at least the attempt at it. Beside him, his mother remained small, almost fragile in comparison. Her posture folded inward, her shoulders slightly hunched, her presence shrinking with each word he threw into the air. She barely lifted her eyes, and when she did, it was brief, hesitant. Like she wasn't sure it was safe to be seen. The camera drifted slowly across the courtroom, capturing subtle details most would miss at first glance. A man in the second row shifting uncomfortably in his seat. A woman near the aisle pressing her lips together, holding back a reaction. The bailiff, standing still but alert, his jaw tightening ever so slightly as he watched the exchange unfold. Something was building, not chaos, but tension. The kind that settles deep into a room and refuses to leave. At the defendant's podium, the son stood with practiced confidence. His chin lifted slightly too high, his chest pushed forward just a bit too much. It wasn't natural. It was constructed. The posture of someone who had come prepared to argue, not to reflect. His sneakers tapped against the floor in a steady rhythm. Click, pause, click. Each tap small, but deliberate, impatient, controlled, as if even time itself was testing him. A few feet away, his mother sat quietly, her hands still wrapped tightly around the strap of her purse. Her fingers pressed deeper into the material, grounding herself in something physical, something real. While everything else around her felt uncertain. She didn't look at him. Instead her eyes rested just beyond him, on the empty space past his shoulder. It was safer there. There were no raised voices in that space, no accusations, no dismissive gestures, just distance. Judge Judy, meanwhile, remained still, composed, observing. She didn't interrupt him immediately. She didn't react to the tone, the words, the attitude. She simply watched, carefully, deliberately. The kind of observation that doesn't miss anything, not the words, not the pauses, not even the intention behind them. And when her gaze finally settled on him, he met it with a smirk. Quick, practiced, automatic, the kind of expression that comes from someone who has learned over time. That confidence can mask anything. You know, he said loudly, not waiting for acknowledgement, I really shouldn't even have to be here. His voice carried easily across the room, filling every corner without effort. She dragged me into this, he continued, gesturing dismissively toward his mother, because she can't deal with her own problems. The motion of his hand was casual, dismissive, almost careless, but it landed heavily, because it didn't just point at her, it reduced her. The room reacted, not loudly, not visibly at first, but there was a shift, a tightening, the kind of reaction that travels silently from one person to another until it fills the entire space. Even the bailiff's posture changed slightly, his attention sharpening as his eyes lifted toward the exchange. The mother flinched. It was small, subtle, a slight inward movement of her shoulders. A quiet attempt to make herself smaller, less noticeable, less present. Judge Judy didn't move, but something about her stillness carried more weight than any immediate reaction could have. Are you finished? She asked. Her voice wasn't loud, it didn't need to be, it cut through the room with clarity. The son let out a short, almost disbelieving laugh. I mean, yeah, he said, shrugging slightly. I just think people should know what the real issue is. The camera shifted. This time, it found his mother, her lips parted slightly, as though she wanted to speak. but hesitation held her back. Her breath caught for a moment, her eyes flickering upward toward him before quickly dropping again. She didn't trust her voice. Not yet. Judge Judy turned toward her, her tone softening. Not with sympathy, but with space. "Mom," she said, "is there something you'd like to say?" The mother swallowed. It was visible. The effort, the weight behind even the smallest movement. "I don't want to fight him," she said quietly. "I just want him to tell the truth." The words were soft, but they landed. The son scoffed immediately, loud, sharp, dismissive. "Truth," he repeated. "You can't even tell the same story twice." A reaction rippled through the courtroom. Subtle, but present. People shifted. Glances were exchanged. The discomfort that had been building began to take shape into something more defined. Something protective. The mother folded inward again, her breathing shallow, controlled, as though even that required effort now. Judge Judy leaned forward, just slightly. But the effect was immediate. The room followed. "Let me tell you what I see," she said. The son's smirk faltered, just a flicker, but enough. "What I see," she continued, her voice calm but precise, "is not what you think you're showing me." Silence settled, not empty silence, but full, heavy, expectant. For the first time since the exchange began, he didn't have a response ready. The overhead lights hummed softly, filling the quiet with a faint mechanical sound as he blinked. Slower now, less certain. The confidence that had filled the room just moments ago began to thin. His sneaker tapped once more, then stopped completely. Judge Judy didn't look away. "Let's try something simple," she said. "Why are you speaking to your mother like she is beneath you?" He scoffed again, but this time it lacked force. "I'm not," he said quickly. "She just exaggerates everything. She always has." The camera cut to the mother. She hadn't moved much, but something about her stillness had changed. It carried weight now. Her fingers traced the stitching of her purse slowly, repeatedly. A quiet motion that somehow spoke louder than anything else in the room. Judge Judy turned back to her. "You may speak," she said. The mother hesitated, her eyes lifted just briefly, just enough to meet her son's expression, to catch the exaggerated eye roll that followed. Then she lowered her gaze again. "I'm not trying to embarrass him," she said softly. "I'm just tired." She paused, the word lingered. "I'm tired of feeling like nothing I do is ever enough." A murmur moved through the room, soft but undeniable. The son's jaw tightened. "Here we go," he muttered. "This is what she does. Plays the victim." Judge Judy's eyebrow lifted slightly. "Victim," she repeated. "You interrupted her 3 times before she finished a single sentence." He threw his hands up. "Because she lies. She twists everything." The audience shifted again. This time, the disbelief was clearer. The mother's shoulders curled inward, but not from guilt, from exhaustion, the kind that builds over years, not moments. "Sir," Judge Judy said, her tone measured. "I asked her a question. I did not ask you to perform." He opened his mouth to respond, but nothing came out. The camera moved closer. His eyes flickered. Annoyance, frustration, and beneath it, uncertainty. Judge Judy turned back to the mother. "Please continue." The mother lifted her chin slightly. "I've tried to support him," she said quietly, "but lately, he talks to me like I'm disposable." Her voice cracked, not loudly, but truthfully. The son gripped the podium harder, his knuckles whitening. "She's not telling the whole story," he insisted. "No," Judge Judy replied, leaning forward slightly. "I suspect she isn't." For a brief moment, relief crossed his face. Then she finished, "And that is exactly why I want to hear it." The relief vanished instantly. "Bring me the file," she said. The clerk placed it on the bench. The sound was soft, but the impact wasn't. Judge Judy rested her hand on the folder, not opening it yet, letting the weight of it settle first. "Mom," she said calmly, "answer me honestly. Do you experience this behavior from him outside this courtroom?" All eyes turned to her. She inhaled slowly. "I didn't want to bring him here," she said. "I didn't want this to become public." The son rolled his eyes again. "Here we go," he muttered. But this time, she didn't shrink. Something shifted, subtle, but undeniable. The camera moved closer, capturing the moment her expression changed, the quiet decision, the internal line being crossed. "When he was younger," she began, her voice still soft but steadier now. "He used to speak to me with respect." A pause, "But over time, he changed." "I grew up," he snapped. "That's not growing up," she replied quietly. "Growing up is taking responsibility." The room held its breath. And somewhere in that silence, the truth began to take shape.